News of real atrocities committed by humans, especially torture, leave me physically shell-shocked and paralyzed, as if I had PTSD. Is there something wrong with me? Well, you're more sensitive than the typical person. Perhaps you're more imaginative, Maybe you're more open. You could take a personality test and find out what your personality traits are. That'd really be the best way of figuring it out. My guess is that you're extremely high in compassion, which is an aspect of agreeableness. And it's the maternal aspect fundamentally. And so you're probably very high in compassion. I have a personality test at a site called Understand Myself. You could go there, understandmyself.com. You could go there and you could do the personality test, and that would help tell you. I would say that you're very high in compassion. And I would guess that you're also very high in trait neuroticism, which is the trait that measures sensitivity to negative emotion, anxiety, say, and emotional pain. And the combination of high compassion and high negative emotion sensitivity would increase the probability of someone suffering from the consequences that you describe. If that was also allied with high openness, which is the creativity dimension, it would mean that you're someone who can get really lost in the stories of other people. So people are high in openness, like fiction, for example. And the reason for that is that they're imitative in some sense cognitively. They can really take on another character, and they can take that on to the exclusion of everything else, so that they're deeply engrossed in the story. Someone who's high in openness, you can kind of tell a person like that, because if they're reading a fiction book, and you call their name even multiple times, they may not respond, because they're so deeply embedded in the narrative and have become the characters to such a degree that they've shut off the outside world, and they're living in their mediated imagination. And so that'd be my guess with regards to your personality traits. If it's really affecting you, like your statement is quite extreme, as if I had PTSD. To develop PTSD, generally exposure to malevolence is necessary. And so that element of your experience is in keeping with that statement. But PTSD is relatively rare and generally requires a very intensely traumatic personal experience. Now, one of the predictors of the development of PTSD after exposure to trauma is something called depersonalization. And some of you may have experienced this. Depersonalization tends to occur when something happens to you that's so far outside the manner that you conceptualize reality that you cannot believe that it's happening. And so the derealization is that all of a sudden you're in a world that doesn't seem real, because something that isn't possible as a consequence of your philosophy, let's say, your perceptual structure, your value structure, has just occurred and posed an unspecified threat to the integrity of your entire belief system, which is really what happens when you develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Is the value hierarchy that regulates your negative emotion gets destroyed at some fundamental level by your encounter with something that you didn't believe could possibly exist. I doubt that your response is sufficient to produce PTSD. If that is the case, then you're sensitive to anxiety at a level that far exceeds the normal. And it might be worth going to talk to someone about that. It's possible that, I don't know, because you haven't provided me with any information. I don't know what your mood is like. Are you depressed? Are you anxious all the time, right? You wake up in the middle of the night and worry about things, because maybe there's something that's broader that characterizes dysfunctions in your negative emotion systems that might be addressed. Maybe you're going through a particularly rough time in your life, and so you're hypersensitive. It's impossible to tell from the context, but at least now you know a little bit more about what might be resulting in your responses.
Thank you for watching my videos. I hope these videos are helping people who are experiencing some mental ailments like anxiety, depression, or agoraphobia. Please keep in mind, you are not alone and things will get better. Until next time, stay begruntle.